welcome back to the Who We Needed podcast by me, Harrison Davis. This is episode 2 of the return of the podcast, I guess. And yeah, I feel good. Feel good to be back. I feel more purpose this time. If you watched the first episode, you would know that I was a little bit hesitant the first time round of this podcast, but this time I feel a bit more switched on. If you can see, things look a little bit more professional. If you're watching on YouTube, that is, you'll be able to see that I've got a new mic, and it just makes it feel a little bit more proper in my head, and it's kind of given me a little bit of a boost to be a bit more professional and confident in what I'm doing here, I guess, because that was my issue the first time. The whole first podcast was about this, but I hadn't really committed to it, so yeah, I finally feel like I have done that a little bit. And that's more of a mindset thing, not just buying a mic, but in terms of everything with this podcast, really. But yeah, anyway, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming if this is your first episode that you've ever seen. This is a mental health, self-help type of podcast where we talk about the lessons that we might have needed when we were younger. Maybe it's the lessons you need or I need right now. And yeah, basically, it's just a place where I talk about my feelings, things I've been through, things I'm learning, and the lessons that I wish I could have taught myself when I was younger, becoming the person that I needed. Therefore, the Who We Needed podcast. So, where to start? A few weeks ago, before relaunching and refocusing on the podcast, I asked for some topics that people would want for me to talk about, some guests, which I'd love to have on, and I'm working on guests. I would like to put that in motion as soon as I can, but I need a couple of bits to get me there. I need another mic. I probably need a better camera setup, to be honest. And of course, I need to be in the same place as the guests that I want to have on. And I don't really live near any of the people that were suggested at all. I've got people that do live here that I want to get on here in the southwest, so maybe that will happen at some point soon. But I'm working on it. But anyway, the topic that I found came up the most or was asked around about the same way was about finding purpose. Please tell me how you find purpose. Please talk about finding purpose. Have you found your purpose? What is your purpose? All questions like this. And as you will have seen, I've made a few notes. If you're watching, that is. Apologies. I'll keep forgetting that people are listening too, but I've made a couple of notes here because I don't want to just ramble on for 30 minutes talking about purpose without a bit of an aim, because I have lots of things to say about this, and I think it's quite an important topic to talk about and share, because we all struggle with this. This is a universal problem. I think people that in our minds are super successful, they have all the money in the world, some of them, most of them still lack purpose. So that's why I think this is quite important. Now look, different people will have a different perspective or opinion on purpose. I think a lot of us, when we hear the word purpose, we want that to be our career. We want our purpose to be the thing that we do every day that we wake up. But I don't think that that is always the truth. I think if we are living our purpose as a job, then we are very lucky. I kind of feel a little bit like that right now. And I'm learning to deal with that and grow within that. But it's not always the case. To me, purpose is the reason that we are here. It is our why for everything that we do. It is the judgment that we hold on all the decisions that we have in our lives, or most of the decisions that we have in our lives. I think the why of our lives, the purpose of our lives, is so important to find. And I think it's something that we should never give up on. It's something that we should search for and chase the whole time that we are here. Because without that purpose, without that why, that's when we get lost. That's when we get caught up. That's when we start to feel unfulfilled. And look, I know some people are watching this and listening to this, and saying, I don't know what my purpose is. And I want to say that I've been there. I have most definitely been there. Look, for those of you that know me will know that I grew up wanting to be a footballer. There was nothing else in my whole life that mattered to me in respects of career. Everything I did was for football. I think it was so much in the front of my mind, it was so deeply my purpose at the time, what I thought was my purpose at the time, that I didn't even realize I was dedicating everything I had to it. And I think that's an important note to keep for later. And I'm just going to write that down, actually. I dedicated everything to it. I was up before school. I would get to school early so that I could play football. I would leave school, run home, go and get my football stuff, and go and practice. I would kick the ball against my garden wall for hours and hours and hours and hours. And it never felt like a burden. It never felt like something that was getting in the way of the rest of my life. The rest of my life was getting in the way of me practicing and playing football. And I grew up. I chased that dream. I tried to follow that purpose. I missed out on a lot of things, but never felt like I was missing out. I trained more than everyone else. I played for a football team that valued me. I wouldn't drive. My mum and dad, that I'm forever grateful for, used to drive me to training an hour away, twice a week, of an evening, Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that I could chase that why. I could chase the thing that felt like my purpose. I then signed for my dream football team. And I'm trying to make a long story short here, but I signed for my dream football team and played for them for 5 years. But in the last couple of years of that, I found myself questioning if this was my why anymore. I found myself lost in my identity, feeling as if I had no purpose. Football was not fulfilling me. And I guess this comes back to a quote that I heard. A customer at my old job actually said this to me. And this is a reflection of how I now feel about football and the purpose that I chased for every year of my life until I was 18, 19 or 20. A customer came into work and said that he had lost something on the golf course. And I think it was a pitch mark repairer to those who play golf. And he asked me if anyone had handed it in. And I said, no, unfortunately not. Apologies. I'll give you a call if it does. Anyway, he said, oh, don't worry about it. Whoever found it, their need was greater than mine. You wonder how that relates to purpose. But I now look at some of the lads that I played football with, and I think, yeah, that was their purpose. Watching them play football, how skilled they are, how ambitious they are, how professional they are, how they lead the way in what they are doing, their need was greater than mine. They needed to be a footballer. I needed to be doing this. I didn't know that. Almost 6 years later, I feel like I'm finding that, but I realised that football was not my need. Football was not the thing that was going to fulfill me for the rest of my life. It just wasn't. I fell out of love with it. I stopped watching it. I stopped enjoying it. I started to hate it. And I lost my purpose. I lost my identity. I lost what felt like everything. I came home during that time, after that time, and I was the footballer. If someone didn't know me, they knew of me as the footballer, the one that played for Southampton. But all of that fell away. And that brings me to the point that I felt like I lost my purpose. I felt like I didn't ever have a purpose. I felt like I wasted all of those years of my life. So yeah, I do kind of feel like I can speak on this topic of finding purpose. Where do we find purpose? What do you do when you have no purpose? Or you think you have no purpose? because I've certainly been there. I felt like I climbed the top of the mountain, finding a purpose, only to come all the way back down after realizing it wasn't. Now look, I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly how we all find our purpose. Maybe I was lucky that I came across mine. But I do know how I found it. I know how I allowed myself the space to become the person I wanted to be, to find this purpose. I don't think that I tried to go out there and find this thing. I don't think that I wrote down a 5-year plan of finding my purpose and ticked all these things off a list to get there. Now look, not everyone believes in this stuff, but I think that what is meant for us will find us. The things that are meant for us will keep circling around until we finally realize that they are for us. And I think sometimes we're rushing around trying to find something and we keep just missing it. So how do I feel like I found my purpose? I lent into the things that I loved. You might have heard me say this before, but I chased my curiosities, is one of the simplest ways to put it. I'll tell you about how I did that in my story, because it might help you do it with yours. But I always loved watching YouTube, motivational videos, inspirational videos. Casey Neistat was my idol. The whole time I was playing football, I was watching him. And I loved the way that he made me feel in his videos, and the fact that he made me feel like I could do anything and that I could live my life as if it was a movie, like he did. I also loved English at school. I had a great English teacher that I had a great connection with, that made me feel seen and heard. And she made me really interested in everything to do with English. So years later, when I felt like I had no purpose, I lent into those two things. And I'm sure there are more than just two things that I lent into, but those are just two very prominent examples for me. I started to journal and write because that's what I loved to do when I was at school. I loved to tell stories. Not that anyone would have known that, apart from my English teacher. I loved to write and get the thoughts out of my head and onto the paper. So I bought into that. I found myself gravitating towards it and not denying it, but really giving it a go. Same with the Casey Neistat stuff, the YouTube stuff. I bought a camera whilst I was still at football. Never really used it until afterwards, but I loved taking photos and videos and making stuff look cool and aesthetic, or trying to find a certain image. And I know that these sound like pretty random things to you right now, but amongst years of perseverance and doing it for the love of it, I sit here now as a content creator that talks about how he feels. The combination of exactly those two things. And I know it sounds easy, but within the 6 years that makes up that time that I've summed up in 30 seconds, I constantly tried and tried and tried so many different things. Whether that be different jobs, different careers, whether it was posting gym videos or football videos or anything. I tried over and over and over again. I failed. I made so many imperfect things until I found the thing that I liked to do and the thing that felt like my purpose. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think we find our purpose hidden in between all of the things that we love. And trust me, I know that when I left football, I didn't know that I loved anything other than football. I thought I had lost my one true love for my life. I thought I had lost the thing that gave me happiness. I didn't know that writing or talking or creating content or videos or photos, I didn't know any of that brought me happiness, because I didn't know that because I'd never tried it, or I hadn't for years at least. I know so many examples of this. It's easy for me to say because I know a lot of them, but a lot of my friends that were athletes find themselves having purpose elsewhere. A friend of mine, Dave, being exactly that. Dave Wetherell, a Paralympic table tennis player, and now he's a motivational speaker. He's a Hyrox athlete, he's soon to be an Ironman, and I can guarantee he didn't find purpose in any of those things when he was a table tennis player, because he would have had no idea. I'm going to say something that might sound harsh, that I might have found very harsh when I was in that position of not loving anything, not having a purpose. But our purpose is not just going to pop up right in front of us if we sit and stare at the TV or stare at the wall and wish it came. Our purpose is going to come from trying and failing and realizing that it was hidden somewhere in us all the time. Now that I look back, I used to have conversations with my teammates, very similar to the ones that I have with everyone on Instagram now, but I didn't know that at the time. Now look, I also want to add to this that I think a lot of us think that our purpose is going to be our job, and we move from career to career because we don't feel fulfilled. But your purpose isn't always your job. Your purpose is not always the thing that pays the bills. Like I said, I feel unbelievably lucky to be sat here right now as a content creator with the chance to start my own podcast and be getting paid for that. But I spent 5 years, like I said, trying different jobs to get here. I worked as a part-time footballer for years after I left. I worked in retail, and then I worked at a golf club most recently. And whilst I worked in retail and whilst I worked at the golf club, that's when I was messing around with this. That's when I was trying different things. That's when I was posting videos on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Because it felt like my purpose. It felt like my why. And I went to work every day to pay the bills, to earn money. But I would find any spare time I could to chase my why, to chase my reason, to do the thing that I wanted to do and the thing that felt like my thing. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong, because I definitely did at the start. I really wanted to be self-employed, be able to be a podcaster, a talker. I wanted it right now, as soon as the idea came to my head. But I think a lot of us give up on our purpose because that doesn't make sense, that doesn't come true to us. We want the thing to happen right now. We want that purpose to be our job. And I think we've kind of been told that. Now look, if we work hard, if we stick at it, if we do the thing that we love, and we follow that passion, I do believe that it can become our career. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. But a lot of us give up because we get busy, we get caught up, we get sucked into the race, and we leave behind that purpose. I say I'm lucky that I'm here, and I do think I am, and I'm very grateful for it. But I also think I worked very hard for 5 years because I knew this was my purpose. I knew that football was not my thing. I knew that football was there to teach me all the things that I needed to know to move on to the next part of my life. So I was going to get up at 5 a.m. every day, make a video and post it. I was going to get home from work and make sure I make a video. Because that felt like my calling, that felt like my purpose, and I never doubted myself on that. But again, back to the football thing. It didn't feel like work. It didn't feel like a burden to me. And don't get me wrong, there were days where I didn't want to do it. There were days when I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to post a video today. But I reminded myself of the why. The crossroads of, do I want this to be my thing or not? And the answer was always yes, so the action always followed. So that's something I want to remind you. Some people have their purpose fall on their laps. It feels seamless. They grow up and they do the thing that they love for the whole of their life. Maybe that's a musician, an artist, a sportsman or woman. Whatever it may be, those people are very lucky, but also very talented and hardworking. But I don't think a bit of work, a bit of grit and determination and dedication should stop you from finding your purpose. You're listening to this 20 minutes in because you want to find your purpose or you want to know a little bit more about it. So I think you should give it the time and energy it deserves. And yeah, at the start, you're not going to be the best at whatever this thing is, whether it's speaking, dancing, teaching, whatever it may be to you, you know. The thing that you're thinking about. But you have to give it time, you have to work at it. So if right now you feel like you don't have a purpose, maybe you don't have a dream, you can't see what your perfect image of yourself is, then I think you should get out there and try. And I'm not saying you're not already. I just mean try the new things, go to the new places, meet the new people. Your purpose could be hidden in something you have no idea of. I had absolutely no idea that this was a possibility for me when I was kicking a football around, when I felt like I had made it. And look, I might find a new purpose in 10 years. But I'm going to serve this one as much as I can right now. Because it feels right. And trust me, you'll know. After trying and trying and trying and getting a little bit better and figuring some stuff out and learning the way that you want to do it, that is when you'll know that this thing is your thing. I just want to check my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. Like I've written at the bottom, just talk about how you feel. I didn't always feel like this, but I wake up now when I get away from the doubts, the comparison, and the worry. I have a real fire in my belly to do this thing, to work hard at this thing, to help people with their mental health, to show people that things do get better. And I guess that point resonates right now. Because I know it can be hard to not have a purpose or not feel like you have a purpose yet. But you will. And I promise you that you will. No matter how lost you feel right now, no matter how hard you find it to believe. I was exactly where you were. I felt like I was just going to float through life with no purpose, making no impact. And I hate to talk about myself in a positive light, but I'm now sat here in my office space as a content creator talking to you, having lived a few years of my life that I just cannot believe happened. So yeah, your purpose is out there, I know that. You're still yet to find it. But it is going to be a beautiful journey. Romanticize it. You are the main character in this movie. The audience is waiting for you to stumble across this thing. They've already seen the trailer. They know that you live this crazy life with this amazing goal, making a huge impact. They're excited watching you trying to figure it out and find it. And I guess that's the spoiler. You do find it. I believe we all have a purpose here. I can see it in some of the people I know, a lot of the people I know. The first person that comes to mind is my mum. My mum's purpose on this planet, whether she knows it or not, is to make people feel good, to be kind, and to welcome people. And that's exactly what she does. Every single one of us has that thing that we're going to be remembered for. I think those of us that don't have that are the ones that didn't believe in it. But the fact that you're watching this makes me think you do. Deep down, you do know that there's a reason you're here and that you're going to have a story to tell when you finish. I think that's very special. Now look, I'm going to wrap this up because I could talk about this topic all day, but I think I'd be going round and round in circles. You are going to find your purpose. And if you're watching this and you have, please put in the comments some of the things that you have as a purpose, the things that you found, the struggles you had, and maybe some people that you know's purpose. Just for the people that don't feel like that yet. Just some examples. Because until I was exposed to this world, I had no idea that this could be a thing. I was very lucky to meet Cal Goddard. Most of you all know him. But from the day I met him, I knew that this was real. That you could be a content creator and make a difference, because that's what he does. So I think that's a good idea. Put some examples down below. I'd really appreciate that. But thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. This is the Who We Needed podcast by me, Harrison Davis. Every Monday night, ready for you to watch and listen to. And I'm working on Apple Podcasts. I don't use Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, so I'm figuring out how to get these on there, but I'm working on it. So yeah, right now just on YouTube and Spotify. And if you can, leave a review and a comment. I'd love that. I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy this as an outlet for me to talk. And I appreciate you. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. I'll talk to you in the next one. Let me know what you want it to be about. Thank you for being here.